perfectly, and therefore it exists. Some people ask me, as a scientist, can thoughts really change the world? Can they really create things? Yes, of course, thoughts can really impact reality. As we have shown in our water research, you can even change your physical body. We have believed for long times that water is able to store information. Then we came across a method which is a simple dark field microscope. And with this dark field microscope, we take photographs from drops of water. The drops are placed on a glass plate. Then the water evaporates. You expect probably on this glass plate a random picture, but this isn't a random picture. The structure in this picture depends on the information which has been in the water. So basically it depends on what the water has experienced in the past. And then we impact thoughts, special thoughts. For example, please build a center, you drop. The experimenter influences the pictures we see. A person does not touch the water. The water is in a syringe, and if you have your strong thoughts enough, then we see after evaporating that a center is built in this drop. This is a transition from the spiritual to the physical world. And in this transition, we pass the state of form. Thoughts are feelings. You have good thoughts or you have bad thoughts. And for example, if you have a shock, if you have a bad emotion, then you will see that afterwards, all the drops you made are not the same as before. These drops are totally changed. These drops are really unstructured. You realize that you are what you think, and you create your surrounding as you are. And I think this is the most important thought.
The power of thought can be so strong and have such an impact that you don't even realize what your thoughts might do to you or to others. It was sometime in the late 80s, I was living in La Jolla. It was during a very severe drought in California. I had heard on the radio that the reservoirs were so low that there was no drinking water for animals who would visit these reservoirs, and animals were dying, and I thought, well, this sounds like a good cause. So we thought we'd make t-shirts and bumper stickers, because back then you didn't have social media and other ways to promote things. It was very old school. And we wanted to have this name called Think Rain. So Think Rain was this idea we had, and we were going to use it to create awareness about raising money and also maybe even get people to think about the necessity to conserve water. I called up Sacramento from Southern California and I said,
how long does it take to get a statewide trademark? Really?
And they basically said, we'll send you the application. That'll take probably 2 weeks. You can fill it out, send it back. But I don't really have that much time. You know, in my mind, it was an emergency. I decided we were doing it and I wasn't going to wait for paperwork. So we got in the car, my friend drove, and we had a pad of paper, and I took a pen and I scribbled on it really thick, Think Rain. And as soon as we got on the freeway, the first car I held the sign up to, without even realizing it, was a station wagon full of nuns. And they were like, you know, bless you, you know? So we began to flash every single car we saw through the whole state of California on our way from Southern to Northern California to go to the state capitol to get this document we wanted to secure ownership of the name. I don't know how many people we flashed. It must have been, I don't know, it could have been 1,000 or more. And every person was like, yeah, Think Rain, that's a great idea. And so as we pulled into Sacramento, I remember going under this underpass, and as we went under it, there's like a drop of water that hit the windshield, and I thought, is that like just condensation? What was that? So we pull into the Capitol and we go into the Secretary of State's office.
Look, her schedule is really full up today. I'm sorry.
It's really important that we get our trademark done today.
No, you have to submit it, and the Secretary of State will review it, and we'll send it back to you.
Is there anything you can do to just get 5 minutes? I promise, that's all it'll take.
We told her what it was about, and she goes, well, just a minute. And she comes back about 10 minutes later and says, the Secretary of State of California, March Fong Yu, will see you now. And we're like, really?
This is about bringing awareness about the terrible drought that's been going on in California. We believe that Think Rain can be something that people can start thinking positively about and putting their energy towards to stop this terrible drought. That's why we wanted to see you directly.
And you believe this will make a difference?
Madam Secretary, you can see outside your window. The drought is affecting everything.
Emma, can you bring the stamp in, please?
Go make history.
Wow, thank you so much.
Thanks.
My pleasure.
And we left and we got in the car and we started driving home. And as we drove home, it began to rain. And it rained. And it rained. And that drought was over. We never made a single bumper sticker. We never made a single t-shirt because there was no reason to.
Once you say, yes, I'm going to do that, and you make that definite decision, the world starts to change because your mind, the greatest gift we've ever been given, will start looking for ways to make your dream come true instead of looking for excuses, which is how you live until you have a definiteness of purpose.
For as long as I can remember, I've been an athlete. When I wasn't training, I was reading about it. When I wasn't reading about it, I was thinking about it. It was my life. In fact, my nickname was Janine the Machine because that embodied the sort of person I was. Well, I found myself as a member of the Australian ski team, and my goal was to represent my country at the Olympics, to really put Australia on the map as a force to be reckoned with. That was my dream, and nothing was going to stop me. Then on one warm autumn day, I set out on a training bike ride with my fellow teammates. We'd been on our bikes for around 5.5 hours when we got to the part of the ride that I loved, and I got up off the seat of my bike and I started pumping my legs, and as I sucked in the cold mountain air, I could feel it burning my lungs. And I looked up to see the sun shining in my face, and then everything went black. My body was consumed with pain. I'd been hit by a speeding truck. I'd broken my neck and my back in 6 places, 5 ribs on my left side, my right collarbone, my right arm. My head was cut open across the front, lifted back, exposing the skull underneath. I had internal injuries and I had massive blood loss. One part of me was in intensive care, excruciating pain, and the other part was detached and pain-free. I spent 10 days between dimensions, and I was given a choice to stay in this spiritual dimension or to return to my broken body. After 10 days, I opened my eyes to find myself back in my body, and the journey had begun. I spent 6 months flat on my back in the spinal ward, and when I left, it was a very different person from the one that had come in. I had a body that didn't function. I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't move my legs. I had no feeling from the waist down. And they told me that if I did walk again, it would be with calipers and a walking frame. I can remember my doctor saying to me, "What are you going to do when you get home?" And I said, "I'm going to the Olympics." And she looked at me and said, in a matter-of-fact way, "Janine, you're never going to be able to do the things you did before." And that was my rock bottom. And the only way that I was going to move forward was to let go of the life that I thought I was supposed to have. And when I made that decision, my whole life changed. I realized that even with my broken body, Janine the Machine was still alive. Sometime after that, I was sitting outside in my wheelchair in my plaster body cast, and an aeroplane flew overhead. And I looked up and I thought to myself, okay, if I can't walk, then maybe I can fly. That moment changed my life. In my plaster body cast and a pair of baggy overalls that my mother bought me, my friend and my mother drove me out to the local airport and they lifted me into a light aircraft for the first time. Everybody thought I was crazy. And I remember sitting in the cockpit and wondering how on earth would I ever be able to do this? But I had a dream. And the instructor that was next to me took off and allowed me to fly that day with my hands. And I thought to myself, I can do this. I am going to learn how to fly. There was something burning so strongly inside me that nothing could stop me.
A burning desire is an inner candle, an inner flame that can never be extinguished. And no matter what may go before you, come hell or high water, you are going to bet your existence on this burning desire. And if the cynics come, and the doubters come, and the negative, toxic people come, you will use their cynicism, you will use their doubt to propel you forward. Arguably one of the most impactful and inspiring stories and profiles in my book, Think and Grow Rich, A Black Choice, centers on Mary McLeod Bethune, when she started what is now Bethune-Cookman College. You go back to the mid to the late 1920s, and here's a black woman who had never been president of anything. I mean, she had never been executive director. She had never been first in her class. But what did she have? She had a dream.
Hello. Are you here for school?
Yes.
What's your name?
Mary McLeod. Can I help you carry them books?
Those books.
Those books.
Yes. Thank you, Mary. Why are you so early?
It's 5 miles, and I didn't know how long it would take to walk over here.
You walked 5 miles by yourself. How old are you, Mary?
11. I run most of the way.
Why did you come by yourself? Don't you have brothers and sisters?
I have 2 younger brothers, but they too small to come. And 14 big brothers and sisters, but they too busy with work and such. But when you teaches me how to read, I can teach all of them how to read too.
True. Miss Mary McLeod, you ran 5 miles before breakfast, and you are the 15th of 17 children.
Yes, and
this is your desk. And this is your first book.
but I can't read it. I don't even know its name.
You will read it.
This is the best day ever. Better than birthdays and Christmas and all them other days.
In 1904, with only 6 students and desks made of discarded milk crates, Mary Bethune started her own school for girls. In 1931, she became president of Bethune-Cookman College. Shortly after, she was invited to the White House by President Roosevelt and First Lady Eleanor.
Right this way, Miss Bethune.
What an honor to meet you.
The honor is mine, Mrs. Roosevelt.
You know, you were the president of a college when there was hardly a woman college president anywhere in the world.
Well, when you start a little school and grow it up to be a college, no one can tell you no to being president.
Your college is thriving now while others are failing, and I know why. It is our pledge to make a lasting contribution to all that is finest and best in America, to cherish and enrich her heritage of freedom by working to integrate all her people, regardless of race, creed, or national origin.
I can't believe I'm sitting in the White House and the First Lady is quoting me to me.
How is this fire born in you? Have you always had it?
When I was a little girl, I went with Mama to deliver laundry to a white lady's house, and I picked a book up and the child snatched it away. "You can't read," she said. And I decided that that was the only difference between white and black folks, was that white folks could read. My whole life was based on that.
God bless that little brat, wherever she may be. She helped create a great woman who's brought the light into thousands of lives. I'm going to the National Convention of Women in Florida. I've asked to be seated next to you on the platform.
Now, Mrs. Roosevelt, you know it's against the law in the state of Florida for white and black folks to sit next to each other.
I know. I'd like to see the officer with the gumption to try and arrest the two of us.
Yeah, that would be a whole heap of gumption at that.
Yes, a whole heap.
President Roosevelt is ready to meet Mrs. Bethune now.
Oh my, oh my. Christmas and birthdays all rolled into one.
She started where she was, and she wasn't going to be deterred. Now, when you look at Bethune-Cookman College, they have close to 20,000 notable alumni across the country, and it all started because here is a woman who refused to let go of her dreams.
One of the standout things that I notice about all these successful people that I've interviewed is that they are willing to master whatever industry or whatever craft they are going into. They don't dabble, they don't just do a little bit here, a little bit there. They have that one thing and they focus and they go all in. They're on a relentless pursuit to make their dreams happen.
The toughest thing to understand is, what do you want to master? And the earlier you can decide that, the better off you will ever be, because that means you're only going to get better and better and better with time.
So I look back on my journey and I received a lot of great advice. But the best advice that I would give would be, if you want to be, do. I love that piece of advice because it's simple, it's direct, it's to the point, and it's why I'm a success. I wanted to be a podcaster, so I had to do podcasting. If you want to be a writer, you have to write. If you want to be in music, you have to sing. I mean, it's just that simple. And people try to complicate things. They try to put all these barriers and struggles in front of them that shouldn't really exist. The reality is, if you want to be something, just wake up and do that thing. Put in those 10,000 hours. Now that I've interviewed over 1,400 entrepreneurs, I'm getting pretty close to my 10,000 hours. But if I look back at hour 10, I was really, really bad. If I look back at hour 100, I was okay. If I look back at hour 1,000, I was getting good. And that's the process. So if you want to be X, do X. It's really that simple of a process.
Dreams are the spark plugs of the spirit. Imagination enables you to really think, imagine, decide on what you'd like to do with your life. You know, Napoleon Hill said that everything begins as a piece of energy. Everything around you right now, in your life, you've created. So change what's up here, and you'll change what's out there in the world.
If you want to inspire the world, follow your dreams. If you don't want to inspire people, don't follow your dreams. It's so valuable and important to chase those dreams. Whether you actually achieve them or not is irrelevant. It's the pursuit of you going after what you were born to do is what inspires other people. And it inspires yourself more than anything else in that pursuit.
Most people look at what success can give them, and that's what they obsess over, rather than obsessing over what it would actually take to get the success. And I think that's probably the clearest line between those that actually achieve it and those that don't.
Probably the biggest obstacle that any individual has to overcome is mindset. You know, the words, the pictures, and images going through our mind at any given time. There are two people that we find over the course of our life. Number one, the individual who sees exactly what he or she wants. And number two, the individual who only sees the obstacle that blocks him or her from getting what they want.
When you're pursuing someone, an attempt to win their affection, to become their significant other, you try to think of all these ways, all these creative things that you can do, really just utilizing any way possible to get their attention, to get them to become yours. You can do that with all areas of your life. You can do that with anything that you have a desire for, taking all your resources and putting it into that to make it yours.
Being rich is being fulfilled in all areas of your life. It's doing what you love, it's growing, it's affection. When I focused on what I loved, helping others, and doing the things that I was great at, the rest came with money, growth, love, and love is what pushes you further. I found out that love has influenced me to do things that I never thought are possible. When you're in love, you have power beyond belief to achieve great things.
And that could be love for a person, or love for a creative endeavor, or even having passion for a business that you yourself create.
Napoleon Hill talks about how we should always be open for opportunities, looking for things that can help us to enhance and further our goals. And one of the things that you could do to help boost that is to start saying yes more. It's one of my favorite topics, saying yes more. The Australians call it a bias for yes, the Spanish call it sí a todo. Buddhists call it living in the current of life. I call it saying yes more. Saying yes to invitations, saying yes to parties, saying yes to emotions, saying yes to potential business opportunities. Say yes more in your life, and you will naturally open yourself up to more of the opportunities that start coming.
See, I think every human being can live up to their fullest potential. They don't live because of fears. They don't believe that they can do this. And my advice is, if a kid like me living in slums can sit here and give this interview, and they have a lot more to start than I ever had in my life, why can't they do this? It's easy. Just believe in yourself. You can be and do and have anything in your life if you decide to do that.
The one piece of advice that I share with everyone to change their life, over 10 years of research of physics, metaphysics, quantum physics, of all types of tremendous experience, the easiest way to change your life is to say thank you or think thank you before you go to bed, and to say or think thank you when you wake up. Now you need to do it 30 straight days so it becomes a part of your subconscious and your unconscious, but that attitude of gratitude will attract everything you desire. It'll change your entire perspective and your entire reality.
Each and every one of us are where we are today because of the choices we've made before today. And if we want something different, if we want to truly be rich, we may need to make a few different choices from today going forward.
You cannot change anything in your life unless you change the way you think about life. If you want to change what you're doing in 5 years, you have to change what you're doing now. And any change requires action, and any action requires thinking. So you have to assess yourself and decide what you're going to do and what direction you're going to go. And then you can take those thoughts and change them into action, and it'll eventually allow you to change your life.
There is a legend of an ancient commander. He ordered his men ashore, leaving only a single sentry aboard each of his ships. His soldiers were about to face an army that far outnumbered his own. But the commander knew that fear itself was the greater enemy. It was his belief in their courage that inspired him to act, that inspired him to remove even the possibility of retreat.
My men have courage in their hearts. Victory lies within them. How can I unleash it? Burn the ships! Burn them all! There is no retreat! We will not leave these shores alive! Unless we win! We either triumph or we perish!
And when they did, each person who wins in any undertaking must be willing to burn their ships and remove any chance of retreat. This is essential to succeed.
When you read this book, Think and Grow Rich, it really hits you hard when you think about the story of burning the ships. There is no other option. There's no backup plan for this. It's either do or die. And that's exactly what my parents did. Imagine coming to a foreign country, you don't even speak the language, and then you come to this country with a suitcase with a few pairs of clothes, and then you land right here somewhere in Los Angeles, California. Most people don't even understand the sacrifice. They leave everything behind, and we would sit there and ask our parents why they work so hard, why they work 2, 3 jobs, they're always on call. You know, they had pagers, and some of the millennial this day and age don't even know what pagers are. Now, I remember my mother always saying to me that we did not come to this country to screw up this opportunity. When I first started in business, I needed money. I couldn't help other people until I could help myself first, right? I mean, I had to make sure that I put food on the table, that I had a roof over my head, that I actually had a vehicle that would be able to take me from point A to B. And even that was a big deal because I had a car. I had a 1967 Volkswagen Bug, you know, and oftentimes I was just, can you just get me to point B? And I would be sweating going from point A to point B because my car didn't even have an air conditioner in it. And even to roll down the window, it took 2 hands to do it. I mean, literally, I put one hand on the window, one would go on the little, the handle to roll down the window, and I would roll down the window like this, because if I just did this, that window went slamming into the door panel, and it would take 2 hands, people on both sides of the window trying to push it back up. And so I wanted a nice car, you know, and you see all these people that have nice cars, and I always wanted to know, what is it like to have a nice car? Maybe Think and Grow Rich means to buy the nice cars. Well, I got the nice cars, and then I thought, well, maybe Think and Grow Rich means to have a beautiful home. And so I went and got a nice house. And it's a beautiful home, and my family's there. I've got so many people that I know that have a lot of money, but they're not that happy. And then I've got a lot of people that they don't have a lot of money, and they're also unhappy. So what does it take? Is money gonna make people happy? I mean, money can certainly make people, you know, make their lives somewhat easier, but I'm not quite sure if it'll make people happy. And so thinking and growing rich, I think what it means at the end of the day is to be happy, you know, in every aspect of your life.
I was 46, thinking I'm made for life, and the universe said, no, you're not, we're going to make you start again. I was quite wealthy, I'd been successful, and I got mixed up in a shopping centre development that went terribly wrong. And we borrowed $1 million, interest rates went to 22%, and I'm faced with an interest bill of $2,000 a week. I got no money, I've got 3 young kids, I got a house mortgage, and I was facing bankruptcy. Napoleon Hill says, the defining moment can be the darkest day in your life. And once you know that, it's a bit easier. You need to take the focus off how bad it is for me to what can I do to change it. I wrote a plan and I started doing something. But I had this urge to share what I'd learnt with other people. And that led me to write a book called Making Money Made Simple. And I wrote the book and nobody wanted it. I couldn't find a publisher. But I kept going and eventually I found a little publisher who said he would publish it if I bore the risk. So I did that, and that book became the biggest bestseller in Australia's history. For me, it was faith that pulled me through.
It is not a book that you read once. You literally have to use it as a tool and read it every single year for the rest of your life, because you have to master the principles, not just know what they are. Because if they don't all holistically work together, you actually won't achieve anything. You'll be spinning your wheels in different principles and not fully understand what it actually means to achieve that sixth sense. Because when you get to that level, you really believe that you are creating your entire existence because you have mastered all of the steps that allow you to not just achieve one single vision, but how to apply it to every aspect of your life to create a reality, you know. And I would say very few people ever get to that stage or fully even understand that that's even possible.
There's no secret to success. If there is a secret to success, it's just that. There is no secret. When it comes to wealth, when it comes to prosperity, when it comes to abundance, it has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with gender, who your parents are, your level of education. But it has everything to do with the desire, and it has everything to do with faith, and it has everything to do with right mental attitude.
Anything the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. I have people continually coming up and saying,